also think that people come to an architect or an interior designer because they're looking for a unique approach, a unique experience, a bespoke experience. And so if they've collected images that they like, or you have to be respectful to that. And if they'd like to really have something and it's a must-have for theirs, if it's not ideologically opposed to what we're thinking, I'm all for it. Like I think that's why they came to If Architecture in the first place. However, like if they're looking to perhaps spatially arrange their home or their business a certain way, I think it's about actually digging deep and seeing, in a commercial sense, what their business model is, and if that's actually the right approach for them, or what their family life is, and then trying to have that open discussion to see if something that is a trend is actually right for them.
I think when spaces or buildings have been designed well, they'll future-proof themselves. So there's obviously going to be advances in technology or different construction techniques, and those things, they evolve over time, and so a building will inevitably, come from an era. So 50s, 18th century, 100 BC. But you design those spaces well, I think they will last into the future. So I think if you acknowledge the context that those buildings are in, and you adapt to that in some way, I think when you design a space, you acknowledge the adjacent spaces, internal and external. I think if you get the proportions of a room right, it will hold up over time. You get the openings right, the room, the spaces in the building will hold up over time, and it'll future-proof itself in regards of being a great building. The technological advances, we're not always going to know what those are, so you're not necessarily going to be able to future-proof to those things, but I think in terms of future-proofing the building and it being a great building, I think it's the spatial qualities and it's respect to the context. I think that'll keep it in good stead over time.
Similar approach. I also think that future-proofing depends in what context you're talking, whether it be about the architecture itself or the building materials, or it be about the end use or the family that lives in a house or things like that. Obviously, with materials and technology, it's important to have a good understanding of longevity and whether or not those materials and finishes are actually appropriate. We're not necessarily interested in building something for 5 years and then seeing it knocked down. You would like it to be sustainable long term for the environment and for the end user as well. But otherwise, if I could predict the future, that would be great. But I can't, so you take a punt on things as well. And if you're designing, like what Nick's saying, with regards to context, then it's always going to have integrity and be authentic.
We always see our role as an advisor to a client. So, we'll design something, or we'll propose something, and we'll present it to them and kind of lay out all the information to them so they can make a decision if they want to move forward with that design. And hopefully we've created enough reasons, for them to do that, and it looks good. But I think, in terms of it enduring and weathering in particular, I think you have to, arm the client with that information as well. Some people come to you saying, I want a maintenance-free building. There's no such thing as a maintenance-free building. So different materials will weather in different ways, or they'll degrade in different ways, and it's certainly our responsibility to advise the clients, the level of maintenance that might be required, or how the building can last longer if they take care of it. Timber, using timber externally is kind of one of those things that you really need to inform the client that the maintenance regime, you know, whether oiling or staining or painting, kind of the pros and cons of all those methods. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's our responsibility, and it's really important to get that stuff in writing too, because they do come back at you sometimes.
Well, I think for someone to engage an architect or an interior designer, they're coming to you with a certain level of trust, and obviously the relationship then, you know, starts with an anticipated level on your part of being an expert, or at least knowledgeable about what you're doing, what you're specifying. So it's very much our responsibility for our reputations as well, the reputation of and the value in people coming to us as professionals, in knowing what you're specifying and its lifespan, or as much as you can. Obviously we can't know everything, but it's our responsibility to be informed, because ultimately you want to have a good relationship with that client as well, and I think they trust you and they trust your expertise to know those things.
I think it goes back to probably what I said before. I think you know, respecting the context that the project or the building is sitting in, acknowledging that and responding to that. I think just, you know, getting the spaces right, the adjacent spaces right, its relationships to the front, you know, the other rooms that might be next to. I think it's getting the functional requirements of a client in there. It absolutely needs to meet all of those things too. You know, balancing that with the aesthetics which, you know, looking to achieve as well. Yeah, I think just, you know, a lot of first principles stuff as well. Just, you know, good natural light, cross ventilation, all those things that make being in a space pleasant and enjoyable. And yeah, I think, you know, those things will endure over time. Yeah, always.
How a building makes you feel, how, you know, or an interior space, I think those are the sort of qualities that people keep coming back to, and whether that makes you feel really good or really bad. You know, lots of architecture is really thought-provoking. You don't like everything. You can maybe appreciate the building for what it is. It doesn't necessarily mean that you aesthetically enjoy it, but I think that if it stays with you and you remember it, then it has the ability to go over periods of time. So, you know, obviously, like, the Opera House went through its phase, but we would all probably consider that as timeless, or Federation Square, or, you know, Story Hall, or, you know, but the fact that it doesn't need to be something that's loved by everybody, the fact that you remember it because it's made you think, or it's challenged how you feel about design or being in the space, that's sort of the essence of timelessness.
The most amazing building I've ever been in is Peter Zumthor's Baths in Switzerland. I know they're not local, there's probably lots of people haven't been there. I visited it maybe in about 2000, so quite a long time ago, and I've still never been in another building. It's kind of provoked, you know, the emotional response that one drew out of me. So if anyone can get there. It's in kind of a remote little mountainside town in the middle of Switzerland. The setting's incredible, the building's amazing, and it's thermal bar, you know, it's the thermal baths, so you engage directly with the building as well. There's a whole series of baths at all different temperatures that you can kind of hop in and out of. Some of them are inside, and there's also some outside. And we were there when it, you know, it was all covered in snow too, so you sort of see those thermal baths. So I think for me that, you know, that building is kind of the epitome of timelessness. It's probably only 20 years old, but I can't see why it's still not going to be one of the most amazing buildings in, you know, 500 years' time. So yeah, I guess that would be my example.
apart from our own projects. I'd probably say it's a little local Melbourne place, but I've had heaps of really good times there. It'd be like the City Wine Shop or the European. It's where I would probably go every week or every month at least, and it's just lots of good memories, lots of laughs, like friends, family. So I think also like the owners and the operators have really allowed the space to age and age gracefully, and the materials and the finishes there have patinaed and gotten worn, and there's a really sort of lovely, sort of comfortable, familiar environment.